Yo, what's up, guys? I'm back. J Tuna 900. So, why is it important to stay uncomfortable? Look, because when you're comfortable, you don't even realize that you're not growing. You think you're growing, but you're not. You're just aging. That's all you're doing. And you're dying slow. I mean, everybody's dying slow, but are you really living? You know? And living, to me, is growing. Just like a flower, it's like you gotta grow, you know? And it's not in a physical sense. It can be. I mean, if you work out, do those things, and you increase your muscle mass and things like that. But how about your brain mass, right? If you stay in the comfort zone, like I said, you won't realize that you're growing. You'll actually stay stagnant, and you won't seek out new ways to improve. So it's like over the years, like I looked at myself from now, or from the time I got married. Actually, because I was with my wife 3 years before I got married. So the time we got together to the time now, it has been a slow process. Like when we first started out, like we used to we had nothing. We would go to like Walmart and buy DVDs. We had no cable. We had like a little 25-inch LCD TV that we used to watch on, and we'll buy a bunch of DVDs and then go home and enjoy them. And I do think about those days. Those days are very sentimental to me, even though we were going through hard times. It's like when J. Cole said, "I think being broke is better." I get what he's saying about that. Because when money gets involved, people can change. And, not only the people can change, the people around them can change. The person that's getting money, the people around them can change. But I always think back to the hard times. Eviction notices. We weren't going out as much. Like when we first started going out, we did date, a couple of dates and stuff like that, like little Red Lobster dates or dinner dates. But once we had a child, we were, just stuck in a position. But I look at the progress, and I'll be very vulnerable. I used to ask my mother for $20. I couldn't even make it through the week without asking for $20 for gas money, so that I can get to work. And I do appreciate my parents for that, because they helped me out a lot with little things, with little money. Even though it's $20, somebody could actually ruin their life over $20. Now they don't have gas to get to work. How are they going to get to work? And just not having more week than money, or than check. That problem arised very often, and I had to figure it out. I asked my parents, can I get $20 to get to the next week, or 40? They'll give me 40 instead. Things like that. And even though it was the two of us, we still, we struggled a lot, and it wasn't like, my wife I mean, she works, but it's like I, I don't like it where both of the parents are gone all the time, you know? Like, you need to be at home making sure that the home's right and actually raising the kids, while I'm out. And yeah, you got your job, your little, but I need a parent in the household so that it won't just be them raising themselves and, having to fend for themselves. So I always look at the fact that I should work more hours than you do so that you can have more free time to actually do what you need to do for the home and the kids, right? But we stuck it out. I look at the progression, and it's like, okay, I went from making a certain amount in a week to where I had to still ask my parents for money to not having to do that anymore. I went from not having anything saved up or in my bank account and actually living in a distressed area, right? I went from that to living in a better neighborhood, in a better place, even though it's still a fairly small apartment, but it's in a good neighborhood at least. And I actually have like money saved up. Like we can go out to dinner when we want. We can go out to lunch when we want. We can go out, to the movies when we want. We weren't always able to do that. We always didn't have that freedom. We were always confined to just having our DVD dates, right? Because we had nothing. We starting from the bottom, from scratch. Early 20s, and just making it through. But, this is why you gotta stay uncomfortable. Because if you stay comfortable, you'll stay in that stagnant zone, and you'll feel that there's no way to improve at all. So I was working cook jobs. I was a line cook, a fry cook, a grill cook, what do you call that, flat top cook. And this is the industry that I was in at the time. This is what I had a lot of experience in. And I think a lot of people do start off, as a cook. And then they venture out to other, because it's, the barrier to entry is very low. You don't need, you can learn as you go, right? So, I did get into a bit of trouble before, we got married. And I did get into a bit of trouble when we first got together and had a child. I think my daughter was about one month old. And I did get a felony for manufacturing and the intent to distribute controlled dangerous substance, which was MDMA. And I got to see my daughter born, and actually I didn't. I was supposed to go to court, but I skipped out on court, and it made it seem like I was on a run, and my bail was $70,000. And guess who came to bail me out? My dad. $70,000, 10%. $7,000 right there on the spot to get bailed out. And if that's what I'm saying, if no one has that, then it's over for you. Like, your life is over, and then you got to figure it out. So I do look at that as generational wealth as well. Being there for your kids, even though they mess up, and they may say some things that's disrespectful. I never said anything disrespectful to my parents, but it can happen. And then you just still want to help them out. So the I guess the point is not to control them, but to just be there when they mess up, because they're gonna mess up. You just hope it's not too bad or too late. So I got bailed out and I went to court, and ultimately they said that you could see your child being born. It was going to be next month. My wife was about 8 months pregnant, but then they say you have to turn yourself in a month later. And I think it was like in the end of August I had to turn myself in, and this was in Pennsylvania, in a Commonwealth state. And I was supposed, it was me and my mother, we went to court, and I was supposed to have this judge. It was a lady judge, and it seemed like she was so harsh. She was like making examples out of people, and I seen it, because I was getting ready to be called next. Well, not next, but soon. And she's like, "Oh, you guys think this is a joke? 2 years, 1 year, 3 years." And I think by the grace of God, that courtroom got full, and they had to move some people out to another courtroom. And I went to another courtroom, and there was an older guy, and you know what? He gave me some leniency. I had a lot of things on my record, a lot of misdemeanors, a lot of traffic violations, a lot of possession charges. Just I was racking up, hanging with the wrong crowd. I had theft charges while involving counterfeit money. That's a long story, and I'll get into that maybe another time. But I had a lot of things on my record, and he's seen that. But I think you get more leniency when you have your parents by your side and they see that you have that support. And the lawyer came back and he said, "You might got to do 6 months." And I said, I was so ecstatic and happy. I was so happy because I thought I was looking up time that you had to do for the certain crime that I committed, and it said 1 to 3 years. 1 to 3 years. So when he said 6 months, knowing that I could come home in the same year, I just felt thrilled, because that it was hanging over my head for 2 years straight. Well, I'll probably be a year, I think. And I didn't have a car at the time, and I was in another state, so they couldn't really, I guess, do anything about it. So then I finally got a car, and I finally got a car, and of course it was registered in my name, my tags. And one day I was sitting in the parking lot with my wife while she was pregnant. It was at her house, and we were talking, and all of a sudden the cops pulled up. They put their lights on, and they told me to step out of the car. And I already knew what it was. And I've been running from, or just been staying, out of the streets for about a year straight. And when I did get my car, I was even more paranoid. I was very, very paranoid. And, it was like a relief off my shoulders. So they took me in to the Mercer County Correction System, what they call the workhouse, and I stayed there for 2 weeks. And luckily, I knew some people in there, and I was okay, right? So 2 weeks went by, I got a bond, and I was bailed out. And like I said, when I went back to court, they said, look, it's likely that you'll do 3 to 6 months in Bucks County. And I just felt like a weight lifted off of my shoulder, that I know that I won't be missing too much on my daughter's life. And when I got the real sentencing back, which was 3 months, and 3 to 23 months, you do 3 months and then you do 20 months on probation. And man, it just felt so good. And I had to go back and tell my wife, and she cried, and well, she didn't want me to go, that's why. But I was so joyful, like I wanted to do cartwheels and backflips, because I knew, I was like, after I do this 3 months, I'm not doing any more crime, I'm not doing any of that. I got a family now, I'm staying away from any of that stuff, right? I was like, I'll just go do this 3 months, and I'll come back home, and I'll get my life started. And that's what happened, And when I came back, I got straight to it. I worked out, got my weight up, and I felt better. And I went straight to work at a cook job, and they were giving lots of overtime. And I just felt good working and just getting back on my feet, But as time goes on, if you don't really have a plan, then you're not really growing. So I went from job to job as a cook and things of that matter. And I got better jobs to where I could save a little bit of money, but it wasn't like that, And then, 2020 came around, right? COVID. And, I was always seeking out ways to, get further and see if I had my own, see if I can get my own business and things of that matter. And it's like I had to stay grounded, and I had to just keep moving, And I learned about crypto. It was a bull season at this time, and I invested my money. Someone educated me on it, and we had little group chats and things like that. So that was good. And I wind up making $30,000 in crypto. And it's like, if you don't know how to manage that money, you'll be back in the same boat. So when this time comes around again, I'm most definitely going to do the right thing. I didn't know about the market crashing. I didn't know that, you're supposed to take, well, I did take profits. But I kept a lot in the market. It crashed. And it's like I was back at square one. So I think I had $32,000 in my account, and then it crashed all the way down to 16,000. I had 16,000 left, and it kept going down. And I guess the business money, we were spending a lot of money. We were taking trips. So these are the downfalls and the pitfalls of what happens when you don't manage right. So just give you that little story, give you that backstory. Felt, could have been story time, but I hope you learned something from it. This is J Tuna 900. This is the Growth Hub. Comment some things that you went through that you learned from, right? And subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.